YouTube, flip over. Here we go, everybody. NBA strategy show. What? I haven't done one of these in 6 months, I guess. Something in that neighborhood. Welcome to the Awesemo.com NBA DFS strategy show. For those of you that have never seen this or heard this before, I am Josh Engelman. I am joined today by my co-host. And I don't know, I'm a really bad host when it comes to this stuff. I'm not sure I've ever introduced you to a single show. So,
yeah, now that you mentioned it.
I normally just get into it like an organic conversation, but I feel like we need to be a little bit different because we're kicking it off. Adam Shearer, a.k.a. Ship My Money DFS, a.k.a. Ship My Modem, a.k.a. Ship all sorts of technological issues that, I'm going to knock on wood here, don't really happen any longer.
Yeah, I replaced my computer and got out of the basement, and both of those things seem to have worked.
Fantastic. I think that I'm safe to say that this is the sport we both like to play the most.
Yeah, NFL is making a very strong case for me right now.
Sure.
But prior to this season, yeah, definitely basketball.
Definitely the one we like to talk about the most.
Yeah, no question there.
Okay. We love this stuff. So I'm gonna hit a bunch of stuff right out of the gate before we get into the games. We only have 2 of them. There's so much stuff to plug, so much stuff to let everybody know of, but I want to go over just everything that we're going to be offering for the season. So we'll be doing a strategy show every single morning, 7 days a week. Some sort of combination of people, whether it's myself, Adam, Laffy, Emac. I'm going to have Sal Vetri, who's been doing some shows for us for the NFL. He's going to be my Wednesday partner. So strategy shows in the morning. If you were with us for baseball or basketball last season, it's going to be exactly the same. Similar story for the deeper dive. That's going to be Adam and Laffy owning that show once again, Monday through Friday. Today will probably be kicking off at 6 o'clock because we've got a late lock. But normally that's going to be a 5 p.m. start, maybe 4:45 on the bigger slates. And then live before lock, going to be happening that hour before lock happens. Some combination of myself, Chris Spags, Fast Eddie Fear. You'll see Emac on the weekends. Chris Randone's going to be joining me tonight. So the normal 3 shows that we always have are right where they always will be. Plus the Early Bird podcast, we record that overnight, so everybody has it for the morning. That is already out for today with you and Emac, correct?
Yes.
Perfect. And then little bit of news. I dropped this little bombshell to everybody yesterday during my office hours, but I want to get it out now. And I don't want to overpromise for days, but it will likely be Monday through Friday. We might see a day here or there where it can't happen. Premium subscribers are going to be very, very happy this season. Every day at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, behind the paywall. So there will be a stream, a 30-minute stream for just premium subscribers. And it'll be Awesemo, Alex Baker. 30 minutes of him going over that day's slate, taking some questions. And that will be in a lockdown post on the site. If you are not a premium subscriber, you do not get access to the boss man. He's going to be doing that very regularly. That's the big thing that we have to announce for today. From a written content perspective, going to have cheat sheets. Emac's got his cash game article out already. The deep dive article will be out, split between Adam and Laffy. What else am I missing? The switch and hedge from Spags. He's still going to have 4 corners videos coming out. The amount of NBA content that we're going to be churning out on a day-to-day basis is pretty staggering, honestly. I think we're recording 9 separate shows today. That includes NFL and golf. Plus, if Spags is putting out a video, it's just like an overwhelming amount of content. So I think that everybody that's a subscriber is going to be very happy this year. Coming up immediately after this show, 11 a.m. Eastern Time, you'll see Laffy and Sal Vetri taking their first look at this coming NFL week slate. We've got PGA strategy at 2:30 with Ben and Tim Frank talking Zozo Championship in, I don't know, somewhere not in America. I don't know. That locks at 6 p.m. Eastern Time Wednesday, so have fun with that. Jake will have his strategy show at 4 p.m. We'll have Alex at 4 p.m. as well behind the paywall. Deeper dive, live before lock. And then early bird podcast tonight is going to be myself and Dan Strafford. I just went on and on for a while, but I'm only at 5 minutes and 30 seconds, so it felt maybe I was talking a little bit longer in my brain.
You're good. It gave me time to do some reading on the Pelicans.
There you go. And that is reading that is very necessary now that we will not have Zion Williamson tonight, but that's neither here nor there. Kind of a bummer. Actually, more than kind of a bummer. One other plug for today, NBA Strategy is the promo code, 50% off your first month with us. So if you're looking to check us out, if you want to get yourself access to Alex's subscriber-only stream, use the NBA Strategy promo code to get 50% off. That'll work on any monthly package of your choice. And we are presented to you, as we always are, on the Strategy Show by Yahoo Sports. They are the presenting sponsor of this show, of the Deeper Dive, and of the Early Bird podcast. And as per usual, if you are a part of our MLB shows, I'm dropping the link to Emac's article into chat. This is his cash building blocks article, which I have on the screen right now for today. There's some information at the top for how to sign up at Yahoo. You can use the promo code AWESEMO to get up to $30 in Yahoo Sports rewards points. They've got excellent contest structure, still running a no management fee contest on a daily basis. A really great place to start, and they now have CSV edit. So, well, CSV import, not CSV edit. We'll see when that starts.
CSV edit, I think, is supposed to come out this week.
Okay. Yeah, but you can import lineups from CSV, which is at the very least going to save you quite a bit of time. NBA still kind of scares me a little bit. Definitely need edit a little bit more than the NFL side of it. But otherwise, go check out Yahoo, check out Emac's article, and go check out Alex's NBA rankings for today. They are posted, and they are the free piece of content from the site for today. So if you want to get a little bit of a taste of what we have to offer right now, Alex's rankings will be free for all of today. Hey, Nightbot, we don't need the MLB content guide anymore. That stuff's over. Nobody's trying to read that. Note to self, fix Nightbot. I would have loved to dig into lineup study for last year's opener 2-game slate. We don't have lineup study data for it. I do have the lineup rewind open for some of the scoring last year. Any guesses as to who the highest scoring player was on opening day last year? I can give you the teams if it helps. Philly, Boston.
Yeah, that would help.
Yeah, Philly, Boston was game 1. Oklahoma City, Golden State was game 2. And that Philly-Boston game last year was amazing.
God, I don't even remember who was on those teams last year.
I mean, pretty much all of the same people.
Well, not Golden State.
Sure. I mean, you know who was on Golden State last year.
Yeah.
You think that Alfonso McKinney was the leading scorer for the Warriors on opening day last year?
And Boston was way different. But the fact that you're asking the question makes me think it probably wasn't one of the guys it should have been. I don't know, Jaylen Brown?
The answer is Ben Simmons.
Okay.
61.75 DK points last year on opening day. Curry and Durant.
I don't know how it would have possibly been Jaylen Brown.
Yeah, neither do I. That was a terrible guess.
Yeah.
Jaylen Brown
maybe the highest scorer on Boston. But
Jaylen Brown had 20 fantasy points. Here's the best part of it all. Ben Simmons, 61.75. Steph Curry, 58.5. Kevin Durant, 48.5. Those are the 3 highest scores. Give you $1 if you can get number 4, and it's not Jaylen Brown.
It's not Jaylen Brown. Yeah, I have no idea.
Dennis Schroeder.
Yeah, never was getting there.
No, I know. It wasn't going to happen. It's a tough one. I'm so pumped. I think we need to just get into this and start talking. We could run some crunches and stuff later on. We've got some time to look through some of this stuff. See what messages we're getting tagged in at this point. Still have Kawhi for 30 minutes. Alex has him at 34. Wait, what do you mean still have him at 30 minutes?
Who?
Kawhi.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I ever said any minutes, but that's neither here nor there. Let's just get into it. We have so much to talk about, and it's going to take us a little bit of time to find our rhythm for the NBA. Switching up sports is hard. Like, not like hard, but mentally confusing. should come as no surprise that whenever Houston plays, I will be calling Russell Westbrook Russell Wilson because I can't stop doing that. It just happens. So game 1, if you're ready.
Yep.
Toronto Raptors, the NBA champion Toronto Raptors, hosting the New Orleans Pelicans. 119 implied total for the Raptors, 112 for the Pels. Obviously, the Raptors no longer with Kawhi Leonard. Pelicans are basically just a completely different team. So,
yep.
Pelicans
are basically the
Lakers. Lakers East, I guess, with slightly better players. Let's dig into it now. We'll start very generically. Which side of this game do you like more?
Both. I like this game more than the other game.
I agree. Based on, it's going to take a little bit for data to normalize. Based on last year's data, I have the Raptors in a very big pace up spot. And I'd be surprised if that wasn't the case. You would think the Pelicans would play faster this year than they did last year?
Yeah, so the Pelicans have said that they want to basically play as fast as they possibly can. They added Lonzo, so that should help with that. The other thing with the Raptors, though, is that, and obviously it's a small sample size, but they were playing much faster than average this preseason as well. That at least makes some sense in theory. You get rid of Kawhi Leonard. He was 8th in ISO possessions per game last year, so you probably should play a bit faster. You're not quite as good of a team, so you're looking to increase variance as well. I think the Raptors probably play faster than they did last year, and then the Pelicans I expect to be one of the fastest teams in the league.
Yeah, and that'll probably only get faster once Zion makes his way back to the floor. I'm with you, though. I expect this to be a bit of a track meet. So let's start on the Toronto side. These guys are getting a little bit of ownership, and I understand that this is a 2-game slate, but there's a lot more projected ownership on the Raptors than there is on the Pels. I'm just going to read off a couple of these numbers for FanDuel and DK. We'll just do FanDuel. Well, actually, we'll just do DK for right now. Pascal Siakam, 59. Kyle Lowry, 72. Marc Gasol, 63. Serge Ibaka, 53. Fred VanVleet, 64. Norm Powell, 46. Those are massive numbers, even for a 2-game slate.
Yeah, a couple of those are really weird.
Well, let's dig into it. What's the weirdest one you've heard?
The 2 centers, Gasol and Ibaka.
Okay.
And yeah, I guess Powell's not that weird.
Why weird to Gasol and Ibaka? Weird to both?
Just because I expect them. We don't have a strong grasp on exactly how the minutes are going to look there. I expect them to pretty much split the center minutes. I don't expect a ton of them alongside each other. And you have basically the same situation with the Lakers guys for cheaper. So it's just kind of weird to me that Gasol and Ibaka both would be getting tons of ownership, and McGee is getting none, and Howard's getting none.
I think that's a good point. I liked, when I originally built out my sheet, I really liked Dwight Howard's price and outlook. We'll see where that ends up by the time we get closer to lock. So if you're picking between Marc Gasol and Serge Ibaka, do you have a preference? These guys are separated by $300 on DK, separated by $500 on FanDuel. Now on FanDuel, it's quite a bit different. Serge Ibaka is a power forward. Marc Gasol is a center. Serge Ibaka on FanDuel, in a spot where there's essentially only 3 power forwards, Serge Ibaka projected for 82% ownership.
Yeah, that's obviously different on FanDuel, like you said, because of power forward.
Yeah.
I prefer whichever's starting, which I haven't actually seen the starting lineup. I assume it's Gasol.
I have not seen it either. I would assume it's Gasol as well. It also wouldn't shock me if these two guys played more together than like we're expecting.
I don't know. I'd be pretty surprised. They just had so many opportunities to do it last year and they didn't. And it's not like they're short on wings. Like they still have VanVleet, they have Powell, they have OG. Siakam obviously can play multiple positions, but I don't know. Just how not willing to do it. I thought they would do it a lot more last year than they did. I thought they had a lot of opportunities to do it. So I'd be kind of surprised if it happens a lot this year.
Okay. I'm figuring, 4 minutes maybe together.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable.
5 minutes, sure. something in that neighborhood. Just because not having Kawhi, that's obviously a big chunk of minutes coming on the wing. Like I think it's just, especially early in this season, where they're sort of playing for something, but not really. Like, I think they're just going to kind of make it work with their best bodies and work people in otherwise. But who the hell knows at this point?
Yeah, I mean, there were just so many games last year where like I thought that was going to be the approach, and then it was just Gasol for 30 minutes, Ibaka for 18,
Yeah.
or vice versa.
Yeah. Right now, I have them relatively similar projection-wise, but let's circle back to the most owned guy for the Raptors. 72% Kyle Lowry at 6,800. No Kawhi makes this a little bit different. We all knew last year on the games that Kawhi sat out. Kyle Lowry was just basically like a permanent fixture into your lineup. Is today any different?
I think he's a really good play. I think the price tag's fair. I think that, obviously no Kawhi makes a difference. The one, like if I had to point to one thing as a negative or a reason that maybe he's not quite as good as people seem to think, it's that Van Vliet's going to play a ton of minutes this year, and we certainly saw plenty last year of Van Vliet running that offense even with Lowry on the floor. It led to some really frustrating games when Kawhi was out. Lowry still, though, averaged 1.18 DraftKings points per minute with Van Vliet on the floor without Kawhi. Had a 22.7% usage percentage, 31.8% assist percentage. So while I think that I would have hoped for better production than that but even if you take that production, it's still really good at this price tag.
Do you think it makes sense that Kyle Lowry is the chalkiest player on the slate? Let me open that. Let me open that back up. Does it make sense to you that 5 Raptors are the 5 chalkiest players on the DraftKings slate?
No, I mean that's the part that I don't really get.
Okay.
Because like I said, I'm just not. It's not that I think Gasol or Ibaka are bad plays. I think I'm just lower on them than the field appears to be, at least as of right now. I think that there's other guys you can go to. So I agree with Lowry. I agree with Van Vliet. I agree with Siakam.
We're on the same page here. I do want to make sure that we're pointing out FanDuel a little bit here, most specifically because of the weird roster construction. So Serge Ibaka is the piece of this that's going to prompt it, and I think we need to get that out of the way now. Anthony Davis is the most expensive player on FanDuel at $12,100. You then have a $6,100 drop-off to Serge Ibaka, and then JaMychal Green is at $4,600, projected for 74% ownership. 196% ownership projected to AD, Serge Ibaka, JaMychal Green. Only Nicolo Melli for the Pels is getting any other additional love at the flat minimum. Let's just approach this holistically. Is there any situation where is there anything else you can do now that there's no drop score other than play AD, Serge, and JaMychal Green?
You can play Melli,
I guess. How much are you expecting Melli to play since we are on this game? I gave him 14 minutes.
I think that's one of the biggest question marks in this game. I could see Melli playing 22 to 24 minutes. I could see him playing like 12 to 14. I think a lot depends on what exactly they do with Okafor. I think it depends on what they do with Kenrich Williams. So Melli's the type of guy where if nobody's rostering him, I would like to be pretty heavily overweight on a slate like this.
Yeah.
And if he's getting a ton of ownership, I would like to not be there just because I think his minutes are very, they could go a lot of different ways here.
Essentially unowned on DK. Like I said, 4% on FanDuel, and that is literally only because there's no one else. There are no other bodies. So that's like the only spot where you could reasonably take that shot. How do you...
It's amazing to me that like you have like nobody at FanDuel just like looks at this because you have a huge, you have no power forwards on this slate and you're still putting Pascal Siakam at small forward.
It's so silly, right? Or Kenrich Williams at small forward. Like, just make him a power forward for today. Whatever.
Yeah. Brandon Ingram also at small forward. Not that I'm saying like that's wrong, but you could have put him in a different position also. So instead you just have James, Leonard, Siakam, Ingram all at the same position. Yeah. And you have no power forwards.
Really limits the construction. I mean, I assume that I end up with all of my exposure to AD, Serge, and JaMychal Green at power forward, barring any just very minimal amounts of Melli. I have him projected for 8.8 fantasy points, so there's a limit to how much he could actually show up. I assume
for
that
Melli?
I assume the power forward is just not a spot where like you're going to have to worry about it. The
Yeah,
odds,
I
the
mean,
odds of one of those
my
three.
point with Melly is just that like I have him projected about the same as you if I give him like 10 to 12 minutes, but if he gets 22, then I think he's a really good play.
Right. Oh, absolutely. I mean, if he gets
And
20,
I think he can get 22.
if he gets 22, I wouldn't be surprised if he was necessary on FanDuel.
Right. So that's kind of my thing because I don't have a lot of confidence in him getting that many, but if you told me he plays more minutes than Williams or that um yeah, I think Williams is probably the one that he's competing with the most for minutes, but like or that you just get like kind of a weird lineup that where Okafor plays less.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he does bring stuff to this team that they don't have as far as 3-point shooting goes. So, and he got pretty decent run in that last preseason game when Favors and Zion both were out. But you saw Okafor play 26 minutes, and then Melly played, I think it was 22 or 23. So I think there's certainly paths to him getting more minutes than people are projecting.
God, I love the NBA. This is so much fun. Okay, so we touched on all of these monster ownership numbers for the first 6 guys for the Raptors. Is there anybody that we didn't talk about from Toronto that you think is viable? Like, are you interested in OG? Do you think Stanley Johnson can get enough minutes? God, I don't even want to say that shit out loud.
I think that so if Norman Powell's projected for 46% ownership at 4K on DraftKings and OG is projected for 8% at 3,900, I don't totally get it.
I'm with you.
I think Powell, like if I had to choose one, I would rather roster Powell just because I think is more likely to give you like a big game. But I think they're going to play similar minutes. I think that neither of them is a great fantasy player, and OG is just going to beat Powell more than those ownership numbers suggest.
Yeah, we're on the exact same page there. I also think that OG is a little interesting in this game because I assume that the Pelicans turn the ball over a lot, which
Sure.
in like a backwards way should benefit OG more than it benefits Norm Powell. It's obviously hard to project like steals and stuff, but
yeah, the opportunities will be there.
Right.
Plenty of guys for him to defend too.
Absolutely. He's going to soak up. I mean, I have him in for 30 minutes right now, which feels aggressive, but at the same time, they're really not afforded many other opportunities.
Right.
Like there is no Kawhi to soak up that time any longer. Anything else you want to touch on for Toronto? Ibaka, $14 on Yahoo. I think I need to point that one out. That is probably too low. 15 for Fred VanVleet. The pricing is really wild on Yahoo for the Raptors. Siakam is $34. Kyle Lowry, $24. Everybody else, 18 or below. Still the $200 salary cap there on Yahoo. So I think Ibaka looks really good on Yahoo. I think Fred VanVleet at 15 looks really good. I like Marc Gasol at 18, but it's hard to like Gasol more than Ibaka given those prices. And then I still think $24 for Kyle Lowry is just too cheap.
Yep, I agree with all of it.
Awesome. Let's hit on the Pels now. This is basically just flat ownership or not owned. 5 guys on the Pels. Drew Holiday, Derek Favors, Brandon Ingram, Lonzo Ball, JJ Redick. 21 to 25% ownership on DK. Everybody else essentially unowned. Who do you like the most from the Pels?
I mean Drew.
Sure.
And then probably, it's either Lonzo or Ingram, I think.
Here I am sitting thinking, I really like Derek Favors, and then he just does not get spoken into existence. So that's great. I really 5,600 for Favors. I just feel like it's too cheap in this spot. Although he does get a really tough matchup in Gasol and Ibaka.
Yeah, it's just I like Favors. I think that he is pretty cheap here. I expect him to play somewhere around like 28 minutes. He's always been a good fantasy producer. It's just that the center position does give you upside for cheaper, even though it comes with a lot of risk. Guys like Gasol, Ibaka, McGee, but they still give you those pretty high ceilings for cheaper salaries.
Like, would you rather have Ibaka than Favors?
I'd rather have Gasol than Favors.
Really? That's surprising to me. Even with the ownership, Favors at 22, Gasol at 63. If that held, you would
Oh,
prefer
okay, yeah.
Gasol?
That's when you factor that in, I guess like that's I would rather have Gasol. I mean, I think the thing to keep in or to make sure we point out with NBA too is that like it's not like baseball, it's not like football where you can really confidently just not roster really high owned guys because it's just more projectable. But I certainly think that if you're within any one lineup, pivoting Gasol to favors at those ownerships is a more contrarian stand that you can take. I wouldn't say that I want to have like more favors than Gasol though.
Okay. Well, then let's put this on record for right now. I would rather have more Derek Favors than Marc Gasol. Like if I didn't see their ownership, I would end up with more Favors than Gasol.
Okay, yes, yeah, I definitely wouldn't.
Ooh, interesting. I like it. Off to a great start. Yeah, I would say that Favors is my favorite Pelican, just relative to his salary.
Even more than Drew?
So I feel more comfortable with Favors being able to provide value at his salary. I think that Drew is obviously the guy on the Pelicans that could like break the Pelicans the most.
Sure.
Like if Drew went crazy today, I wouldn't like that wouldn't shock me at all, but I think it's easier for Favors to like look like a really good play at 5600 than Drew just going for 40 fantasy points at 79.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Obviously Drew Holiday has a much higher ceiling than Derek Favors in this spot. He should be fantastic. Yeah. I mean, just having like legitimate bodies around him for basically the first time ever.
Yeah, I mean the best. It's obviously really hard to approximate production, going into the first game of the season. But Holiday played 230 minutes last year without Davis on the floor and with Elfrid Payton. And I'm just using Payton as I know he's completely different than Lonzo, but just as like a point guard proxy because I want Holiday playing off the ball. 1.23 DraftKings points per minute, 27.3% usage, still a 23.4% assist percentage as well.
Yeah, he's so damn good. And I think we're going to end up seeing that this year.
Yeah, he prefers playing off the ball too, so
yeah,
that's nice.
And say what you want about Lonzo, but I'm very happy to have the ball in his hands. He's a fantastic creator.
Yep.
Really anxious to see what his season looks like. This whole team, man.
I think everyone knows how much I like Lonzo, so I have my thoughts on how his season will look.
I expect it to be really good. I really wanted to see him throwing lobs to Zion for 8 weeks, but
well. That would have been fun.
Josh needs a cup that's not purple. You should probably see all of the things that I own. A lot of purple. I don't know. Purple's good. Purple drank. Best I can do. 21% JJ Redick at 4,900 feels a tad high.
Yeah, that's kind of a weird one just because of the type of player Redick is. I think he projects as a decent value, but his range of outcomes doesn't really give you a monster ceiling, and he certainly is capable of just not showing up based on the type of player he is. Like they still have guys that can score the ball on this team. I do think he'll get plenty of open looks, but he's just not the kind of guy that I really like rostering at high ownership. With it being a 2-game slate, though, and this being the game that I prefer, I think that getting around 20% is reasonable.
Here we go. 2 things that we want to touch on from YouTube chat right now. We're off to a great start. Are you worried about Lonzo not being able to dribble or shoot as a point guard?
What?
Yeah, exactly. Love you, Josh. Taking Favors over Gasol is like taking Phyllis Diller over Cindy Crawford. That seems like a bit of a gap that's not really right.
I only know who one of those people is. So.
Big Phyllis Diller fan?
I know who Cindy Crawford is.
No kidding.
Okay.
Let's try to talk about this Pelicans rotation here. Holiday, Favors, Ingram, Ball, Redick. I don't think we're super worried about the minutes that those guys are going to get. Wouldn't shock me if Redick didn't play a lot just because like they don't need to run him into the ground type stuff. But they are guys that are going to be soaking up the large majority of minutes. Drew in particular. I gave Drew 36, Brandon Ingram 34. Anything weird there? Would you give either one of those guys more or less?
No, it seems fine to me. What do you have Favors at?
30.
Okay, I have 28.
Any particular reason? Just like what your thought process is there? I mean,
It's
I don't think
Derek
you're crazy.
Favors. He's banged up. I don't think they want to play him a ton of minutes.
Okay, that's fair. I could see.
And I don't think they want to play him a ton of minutes anyway. And then also he is kind of banged up. Like they said that he's good to go, but
Do you think that Derek Favors is on the Pelicans next year?
I have no idea on questions like this.
So what I mean is, the reason that I'm going that direction is I'm not entirely sure they care how many minutes he plays.
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
Particularly now with Zion not there, I don't know how much they're going to like grab from the bottom of the barrel. But I don't know. We've been waiting to see Derek Favors just like take the load of being the, essentially the center of a team for however many years now, playing as like the 4 alongside Gobert and as the backup 5. Now he just gets to do it. He could thrive here. I don't know. I'm obviously a big Favors fan.
Yeah.
How many minutes do you have for Okafor as of right now?
Like 16.
Okay. See, I gave him 20. Well, who else is playing center for you? Who am I missing?
I guess.
Those are the only options, right?
I mean, if they play small, Melly can.
That's true. So I have Favors at 30. Well, this isn't going to be right. Actually, I should be moving Favors to 28. I have Favors at 30, Ja at 20, but that they're not going to play alongside each other, or I would be very surprised if they did. So that just needs to be changed. You like Okafor today? 3,700 on FanDuel, 3,200 on DK?
Not really.
Interesting. See, I think this is a situation where he is totally unowned. If Derek Favors is in any sort of foul trouble, is Okafor not like a very reasonable $3,200 punt on a 2-gamer?
Yeah, I mean, he has the upside to do well at 3,200 if he gets the minutes. I just don't really have him getting the minutes. Yeah, so like if you're playing him, obviously don't play him with Favors.
Yeah, that's the best way to do it. Everybody keeps saying like, Josh, don't forget about Alexander Walker. You don't have him in there. Before the Zion injury, I didn't expect him to be a part of this rotation. Did you?
Yes.
Really? Over who?
Yeah, he
Hart or more?
Anyone, either of them. He had a great preseason. He looked really, really good. I expect him to get to be a normal rotation piece off the bench.
Okay. From everything that I had heard previously, like I did not expect that to be the case starting the season.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's a quote or something, like I didn't read it, but great preseason, and everything that I did kind of see coming out of there was that they were really excited about him.
I'd be very surprised if he played ahead of Eton Moore. The only spot that I think that would be up in the air would be Josh Hart, and I would expect them to want to play Josh Hart over Walker early, because I don't think that they want to get rid of Walker. Alexander Walker going for 30 fantasy points tonight, that is absolutely not happening, Alvin. Good luck with that. I would probably bet my life on that. I don't think they're going to play him
highest usage rate on the team in the preseason.
Sure. Look, I like him. I'm excited to see him play. I don't think that he is that sort of part of the Pelicans yet. The only Zion being out is very helpful for him. I think that's just additional minutes that he can get now. Do you have Josh Hart playing at all?
Yeah, I have him with 10, 12 minutes.
What about Eton Moore?
Same boat.
Okay. What did you give to Walker? How many guys do you have playing today?
Similar.
Are you running an 11-man rotation?
At the moment, yeah.
Okay.
I just don't know which one of these guys doesn't play.
Right. Would you be surprised if Walker didn't play?
I'd be shocked.
Okay. Not playable from a fantasy perspective, though. I think we would agree, right?
Probably, yeah.
Okay. Anybody else standing out to you from the Pels?
No, I mean, I think that, again, we already talked about Melly, but he's the really interesting value piece to me, just because I think that I don't know what his minutes look like, but there's certain ways there's certain ways the rotations can go where he gets into the low 20s. And since every site is projecting him to not be there, which I think is probably the correct median projection. It makes him interesting in tournaments to me.
We're also being told that Ja doesn't play. He's the third center in the preseason. So
that is possible. I don't know.
I would be shocked if Okafor is not the backup center in this game today.
If I had to choose between Okafor not playing or Alexander Walker not playing, I would say Okafor doesn't play.
That would surprise me a lot. Something I want to dig into a little bit more. I don't think it's going to matter with what I'm doing today, whether I take Josh Hart's minutes and give them to Walker or I take Eton Moore's minutes and give them to Walker. I don't particularly care one way or the other. I'm not rostering any of the three guys that I just mentioned. You guys got to remember, people play in the preseason because other people don't have to. You give Melly backup center minutes through the preseason because everybody knows what Jahlil Okafor is at this point in time. It's just gives you an opportunity to get some additional looks. Anything else we want to touch on for this entire game?
I don't think so.
Alrighty. Move on. Clippers and Lakers. This is the most interesting piece of it to me. Are you surprised that the Lakers are 3.5-point favorites?
I don't think so.
Okay. I was a little surprised.
I mean, just because PG's out.
Sure. I feel like every single position after the first two guys, like let's call Kawhi and LeBron a wash. So obviously AD over the second best guy from the Clippers is a massive gap. I think every other spot is better for the Clippers. But I mean,
yeah,
if we're comparing Landry Shamet and Avery Bradley and like working our way up, I'm preferring the Clippers pretty much clear across the board. So I was really surprised to see the Lakers be 3.5-point favorites here, and that's
Also, I'm sure that there's just more like public behind the Lakers.
You think?
Probably it's AD and LeBron and the Lakers.
I guess. God, man, NBA YouTube chat off to a fantastic start. They barely got run together as a squad in the preseason. This is about why the Clippers are surprising. Yeah, because the Lakers are this well-oiled machine of JaVale McGee and Danny Green and Jared Dudley. These are two completely different teams than last year. But the Clippers are bringing back basically Lou Will, Montrezl Harrell, Beverly. Like, these guys played together. I mean, Lou Will and Montrezl Harrell might be the best pick-and-roll combination in the league until LeBron and AD start doing it.
Hey, I have a narrative for you back to the Pelicans.
Okay.
Do you know where Alexander Walker's from?
Toronto.
Yep.
Yeah. Great. Yeah. Shamet yet to find his shot. What are we talking about here? Oh my God. Day one.
I miss these shows.
Day one. Everybody has no idea what they're talking about. It's fantastic. Start on the Clippers side. Big ownership numbers on a couple guys on the FanDuel side. A little bit flatter on DK. We've got Kawhi at 68% on FanDuel, 52% on DK. Lou Will, 71% on FanDuel, 48% on DK. Beverly, 52% on DK. And then the piece de resistance, JaMychal Green, 74% owned on FanDuel today. Gotta love it. Talk to me about what you like from the Clips.
I think it's kind of tough. Like, how many guys on this team do you even have projected above 30 minutes?
Do you mean literally above? I've got a few at 30, but the only guy that I have north of 30 is Kawhi.
Yeah, same here. Yeah, I mean, I think that they just have so many like competent bodies that it's kind of tough to be really confident. But the nice thing about them is that, in addition to Kawhi, you do have really good point per minute guys in Harrell and Williams. So getting to those guys in the mid range is pretty nice, just because they're capable of, going out there and giving you 40 to 50, like it's in their range of outcomes.
I'm a big fan of this Clips team. So, favorite Clipper?
Kawhi.
You getting to Kawhi today?
I don't know. I haven't made lineups, but he grades out as my best guy.
Well, that's been like the most rare thing. You've basically never said that sentence on a show that we've done before. So sorry to be shocked by that one. Last year was just this revolving door of, I mean, on a point per dollar play, he looks great, but I'm not a big fan of Kawhi Leonard for X, Y, and Z. Today, he's your dude.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Fantastic. The price that stood out to me the most when I first started looking at this slate, Montrezl Harrell, 6,100 on DK.
I think you messaged me about that like a week ago.
I did. That's just really cheap for a guy that's, I have him in for 30 minutes. Would you be surprised if he deviated from that?
I have him at 26.
Okay. How much do you have Zubac playing?
Like 20-ish.
Okay. I went 30-18 for those two guys. Are you a fan of Harrell today then at 6,100? Probably not as much as me.
I think he's fine. I'm always willing to play him just because he's so capable of just, going nuts in even 26 minutes. But at 43% owned on DraftKings, I wouldn't even say that that's like necessarily too high because, again, he's pretty cheap. He's in a nice spot and he's really good. And he's certainly like, I don't think he plays less than 26 minutes. I wouldn't be shocked if he played 30.
Right.
I don't think it's the most likely outcome, but I think that he does have a little bit more like ceiling potential than floor potential, for lack of a better way of wording what I'm trying to say, based on like my projections. So, I do like Harrell. I don't think that I end up massively overweight on him though.
I could see that being a spot where I am massively overweight, just given the other ownership that we've seen. So
who do you like more, Harrell or Favors?
I have them separated by a half point. Probably Favors.
Yeah, I like Favors more too.
Okay. Do you like Gasol more than Harrell?
I like Gasol more than Favors.
Okay, so that's like an even bigger gap. Okay, interesting. Yeah. I think that Harrell has a really big floor for today.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was saying in a really weird way.
Like, he's just going to be involved to some sort of low end amount. And I have a hard time finding him cratering a lineup at 6,100.
Yeah, and he certainly can just go nuts. I mean, it wouldn't be the first time we've seen Doc Rivers just play him for like 16 or 18 minutes to close a game or something.
Right. Let's talk about Lou Will. 6,200 on FanDuel, 71% ownership. I think we need to touch on that right now. He is the third most owned guy on the entire FanDuel slate. Clearly the most owned shooting guard. He's $2,500 behind Drew Holiday and the only other shooting guard north of 4,800. How do you feel about Lou Will?
I think he has a really high ceiling. I think that at the ownership he's getting right now at 48% on DraftKings, I probably come in a little below weight on that. Yeah. Just because when you look at the guard position, you have LeBron at the top, which is really weird to say, but you have LeBron. But then you also have Van Vliet, you have Lowry, you have Holiday. For value, you have Powell. I think Lonzo is a better value than Williams. And then I get to Williams. So when I have someone at a position as like my 8th best value, obviously, value rankings aren't everything because you're also factoring in ceiling and upside and everything. But when that's the case and he's projected to be, the 7th highest owned player on the entire slate, regardless of position, normally I end up having kind of more exposure to some of the other guys.
That makes sense. Is it worth playing the Clippers players if they're going to get blown out? That's an actual question we got. Day one, man. Day one. 3.5 point line.
If this were like a 14 point line, I would still say play the Clippers. It doesn't matter, but it's a 3.5 point line.
Yeah. I just don't play NBA DFS if that's a question today. Honestly. Or just play against me in head to heads. I'll take that as well. Let's talk to Michael Green. I have him in for 20 minutes. Am I missing anything there?
I think you're low.
By a lot?
Like anywhere between 2 and 6 minutes.
Okay. Do you have Patterson in the rotation?
Yeah, for like a handful.
Okay. Jerome Robinson?
No.
Okay.
So I think one of those two plays.
Okay. I have Jerome Robinson in for 18 as of right now. So there is that.
Playing.
And look, guys, this is going to be an inexact science for the first day of the regular season. We have no idea what some of these rotations are going to look like. And Jerome Robinson is one of those sort of pieces where it could pretty much go in a couple different directions. Well, I like JaMychal Green one way or the other. If I give him more minutes, it's just going to increase my like for him just because there's nobody else to play it. Power forward on FanDuel.
Yeah, particularly good FanDuel play.
Yeah. So here's the question. Is he a particularly good FanDuel play? Because now that we're on the game, Serge Ibaka, 82% owned. JaMychal Green, 74%. Anthony Davis, 40%. Is that just the spot? Is it just grab AD and push forward?
I think AD is the huge priority there just for the raw points that you can get at that position.
Agreed. So then what do you make of 40% ownership on AD?
I think it's low.
Okay. We're on the same page then here. YouTube chat going crazy. Like, it's weird. I like the Clippers, and yet they have the lowest implied total on the slate, and just not a lot of pricing on guys that I find that interesting. Like, I don't really have a lot of interest in Mo Harkless. Zubats is getting 15% ownership on FanDuel right now.
At center?
Yeah. Yeah, they didn't start a utility spot or anything.
Yeah. They could have had Zubats at shooting guard. I don't know what's FanDuel.
Like, there's no... I want JaVale or Dwight over Zubats for sure. Right?
Yeah, I think I agree.
I'm not entirely confident how that Lakers front court rotation comes out. I assume that those guys are essentially just splitting it. But
yeah, that's my assumption, and then maybe a couple of minutes with Davis.
I went 22, 22, and 4.
Yeah.
Who do you think gets more run for the Lakers?
Between JaVale and Howard?
Yeah.
JaVale.
Okay.
But I don't think it's by a lot, and I don't think that I'm saying that with a lot of confidence. I just think that JaVale is a little bit better fit for that team, and he has been there. And yeah, I don't know. I think JaVale just plays a little bit more.
Okay. So let's wrap up the Clippers, and then we'll finish off on these Lakers guys. Kawhi at 52% ownership on DK, Harrell 43%, Lou Will 48%, Beverly 35%, Green 45%. Those are the 4 big numbers. What stands out as most correct, I guess, and least correct to you?
I think I just end up really underweight on the Clippers tonight on DraftKings.
Okay.
If these ownerships hold. I think that $3,800 Green getting a ton of ownership is probably the most correct just because of the value there.
Yeah.
Kawhi at 9,600 obviously is a good play, but it's not like he's much cheaper than LeBron or Davis, who both are getting less ownership. So I'm not sure I agree with that.
Yeah, I guess that's a conversation we need to have right now. Kawhi 9,600, LeBron 9,900. You're preferring Kawhi in that scenario?
No, I'm preferring both Lakers guys by a wide margin.
Did I misunderstand you when you talked about Kawhi earlier?
You asked me who my favorite play on the Clippers was.
Oh, okay. Then yes, I did. I was just like, what's happening now? Did we not have that back and forth?
Yeah, no. All I said was I like Kawhi more than Lou Williams and Harrell and JaMychal Green.
That's fair. Yeah, I think I'm with you. I don't have as much interest in the Clippers outside of Kawhi, Harrell, Lou Will. And I think that I'm just personally higher on Harrell. But I don't really like 35% Pat Beverly on DK. I mean, I guess I understand why it's happening, but I'm not exactly excited about that now that Kawhi is there.
Why is Pat Beverly higher owned than Lonzo with a $400 salary difference? That makes no sense to me.
Dude, I was like, oh shit, I've got like a huge bug in my sheet. I looked down at the Lakers. I didn't see Lonzo's name anywhere. I was like, everything is wrong. Let me actually look at this now so that I can see the difference. So Lonzo 5,400, Pat Bev 5K, 35 to 25 Beverly to Lonzo. I have Lonzo projected for 4.7 more fantasy points.
Yeah, I have like 5.5 more.
Yeah. So greatly prefer Lonzo there. And I guess now in hindsight, like, I think that I'm going to be well over that 25% number on Lonzo Ball.
Yeah, I think I'll probably smash that.
Yeah. And
yeah, I mean, just looking at the ownership here, like we talked about, Toronto as a team being really highly owned and kind of poked at some of that, but they were still guys that I really, liked, and I don't mind if I get a lot of them. I think the Clippers are the team that I just end up, coming in at like half the field or something, and hoping that my other guys do better. Like I think I'll be way overweight on New Orleans. I think that I'll be overweight on the Lakers based on their ownership right now is really low. I think the Clippers are probably the team I come in the most underweight on.
Okay. Well,
even though I'm with you, I really liked them as a team.
Yeah. Oh yeah, two different stories. Yeah.
Yep.
I think when they're healthy, they're the best team in basketball. So
I agree with that. I think they're the most correctly priced team, at least on DraftKings, on this slate.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Like, you look at the other teams, and you can certainly make an argument that $9,600 Kawhi is underpriced and that he'll be higher later on. Williams and Harrell, they have ceilings at those price tags, but I don't think that they're underpriced from like a median standpoint. And then everyone else, is a huge question mark. But then you go to a team like the Pelicans where Favors, Lonzo are clearly underpriced. Drew is probably underpriced. Toronto, you have Van Vliet, Lowry, Gasol, all very clearly underpriced.
Yeah.
The Lakers, Davis and LeBron, both very clearly underpriced. Like, the Clippers are the one team where it's just like, yeah, I think their prices are pretty much correct.
Yeah, like, would it be surprising to you if Kyle Lowry's 8,400 in 2 weeks?
No, not at all.
Right.
I think he was 8,400 for a large part of last season with Kawhi there, if I remember right.
Oh, absolutely. But Drew is going to be north of 8K at some point in time in the near
Drew
future.
probably hits like 9+.
Yeah.
Like, pricing on this slate is just really soft, except for the Clippers.
Yeah. I mean, and again, I don't want to belabor the point. I think that Harrell is underpriced, but this is just I agree with everything else that you're saying. Yeah. I'm just apparently the biggest Montrezl Harrell stan going.
I always thought that was me, but
yeah, well, here we are. Okay, so let's talk about the studs for the Lakers. Anthony Davis and LeBron James, both at the top here. AD 12-1 on FanDuel, 10-2 on DK, 18-3 on FantasyDraft, $54 on Yahoo. LeBron James, 11-4 on FanDuel, 9,900 on DK, 18-2 on FantasyDraft, and $49 on Yahoo. Who do you prefer between AD and LeBron?
Davis. I think that overall this season, if they're like the same price every night, it's just going to be a guessing game more or less. But the reason that I give the edge to Davis, and the reason why I think that in those situations I'll just prefer him slightly, is that, for one, we know LeBron, especially in games that aren't huge games, is perfectly happy to kind of just defer, especially to someone like Davis. He's already come out and said that as well, that he thinks the offense needs to run through Davis. Davis also gives you the block upside. He gives you the rebounds and all of that. So obviously it's splitting hairs, but I think that I just give a slight edge to Davis.
I'm with you, especially on FanDuel. If he really is going to be 40% owned, given the ownership otherwise, I probably want him in like 80 to 90% of my stuff.
Yeah, I think on FanDuel, that's a really good point too, because on the other sites, you have a lot more roster flexibility. So there's still opportunity cost, but it's less of an issue. On FanDuel, because of how rigid the roster construction is, the difference between rostering Davis and LeBron there is huge, because when you roster LeBron, it automatically means you're not rostering one of Leonard, Ingram, Siakam.
Yeah.
And if you're not rostering Davis, it means you are rostering one of JaMychal Green or
Ibaka.
whoever, Ibaka. Yeah. So like the gap between Davis and your other options at that position is just so much bigger than the gap between LeBron and the guys at that position.
Yeah, I assume this changes pretty dramatically. I have a hard time believing that AD is at 40%. That's just, I don't really know what to do with that. I'll tell you right now that if it's 40% at 7 o'clock when I start live before lock, I'm going to have north of 80 of Anthony Davis, and it wouldn't shock me if I have him in even more than that.
Yep.
So let's talk about LeBron then. 18% expected ownership on FanDuel, 34 on DraftKings right now. On FanDuel, we've already touched on it. Kawhi, Siakam, Ingram, OG, Mo Harkless at 17% ownership. There are options there at small forward. How do you want to handle LeBron today?
I think, and we're just talking FanDuel?
For right now, yeah. Just because 18% ownership
not
for LeBron on a 2-gamer is like not something you normally see.
Yeah, it's just that the opportunity cost is so high, and also the salary is, he's a lot more expensive. Like he's 1,500 more than Kawhi. He's 3,400 more than Siakam. I think that, obviously, if you can get LeBron in the lineups, that's fine. Like he's the highest projected guy out of this group by a pretty decent margin. But with it being a 2-game slate, with there being limited value that you really feel good about, and with there being plenty of other guys at this position that give you legitimate ceilings, not even just in terms of their salary, but that can go for 50 plus fantasy points. I think that LeBron's just not a huge priority on FanDuel from a roster construction standpoint.
So let's put this out into the public sphere. You're playing 150 lineups on FanDuel today. How many of those lineups do you think don't have one of Anthony Davis or LeBron James?
0.
Okay. 40% AD on FanDuel, 18% LeBron James right now is the projection. Obviously, that is a relatively large difference between 0 and what is projected.
Yeah. I mean, the reason I say 0 is who the hell am I paying for if I don't have either of them?
I agree. I think that one of those two guys will be in every one of my lineups.
Yeah, there would absolutely be more lineups that have Davis plus LeBron, I think, than that have neither. I don't really know where that value comes from, but
I agree.
I mean, yeah. So if you put in Davis and LeBron on FanDuel, you get 5,200 per position.
JaMychal Green, Melly, if you have to, there. Mo Harkless 4,100, OG 4,300.
You can pay down and just rotate through shooting guards.
Yeah,
like Drew Holiday and Williams are like the two really high upside guys at shooting guard, obviously. But for one, that's only 2 guys, and 2, Holiday's reasonably expensive. So like you can just rotate through the Danny Green, Avery Bradley, KCP, Powell, all of those guys, and get value there at shooting guard. JJ Redick too.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that like double punting shooting guard makes it pretty easy to get to Davis plus LeBron.
Yeah.
You can throw like Zubats in there, who we made fun of his ownership, but he is only 4,500. Yeah, you can definitely make some pretty decent LeBron plus Davis lineups. And I think that they're a lot better than whatever lineups you're going to make that don't have either of them.
Guys like this are no help at all. Thumbs down. I think this is the most important thing we're talking about so far today.
Yep.
We're letting you guys know that LeBron James is projected for 18% ownership and Anthony Davis is projected for 40. And we would have the combination of those two being at the minimum 100. So, guys, use your heads. Use your heads. Similar ownership between AD and LeBron on DraftKings. Do you think that you get to one more than the other from a construction standpoint? Separated by $300.
On DraftKings, let me pull up. I mean, I have them just projected like so similarly that I think it probably ends up being decided mostly by projected ownership, but we have them projected for like the same ownership as well. So that doesn't really help. I probably get to more LeBron just because he's guard and forward.
Okay.
So he's just going to fit in any lineup possible.
Yeah, I'm with you. 5% ownership on JaVale McGee, 1% on Dwight Howard.
Yeah, I'll be north of that on both.
As will I. 4% and 1% on FanDuel as well. What are we missing here?
Nothing. I mean, I think we're both very well aware of the risks to rostering either guy. We don't know exactly how the rotation is going to look. They both, are certainly capable of not being great, but with those risks in mind, you're still talking about productive guys. JaVale McGee averaged 1.2 points per minute last year. Obviously, that can come down a bit with Davis in the front court alongside him, but um, he's still going to get blocks. He still can dunk passes from LeBron.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that at their salaries, I just think that the median outcome is that they do fine, and it doesn't really matter. But they still can give you a really good performance at those prices, especially if their ownership stays as low as it is right now.
I expect one of the two to be a positive value play for today. Now, I'm not exactly confident in figuring out which one is which, but I would be very surprised if they both underperformed. That's just going to be hard to do. If one of them gets in foul trouble, that's obviously a benefit to the other. It's going to be really hard for me to believe that they both just suck.
Yeah.
And if they do, I don't know. I guess the Clippers probably are looking pretty tasty. I don't know. This might be the most puzzling thing to me, that they are essentially unowned.
It's especially puzzling to me because we have such high ownership on Gasol, which again, it makes sense to me, but on Gasol, on Ibaka, on Zubats to some extent, not so much on DraftKings, but on FanDuel. Cheap centers are a really viable build today, and that normally would mean that McGee and Howard are going to be higher owned.
Yeah, it's really weird to me. Just really weird to see those numbers. I hope it holds, because that's perfect to me. And I got to shut this down on chat now, because it just keeps getting talked about. The Anthony Davis injury prone thing. He played 75 games in the 2 previous seasons to last year. He played 56 games last season while shutting down the end of the season to tank out the rest of the year and get himself traded. He's really not that injury prone.
He just
didn't play. He's not injury prone. That's
right.
He used to be.
The thing with Anthony Davis is he, stubs his toe or whatever and goes to the locker room for 3 minutes and comes back, and 800,000 people tweet about it.
Yeah.
And it sticks in your mind because Anthony Davis went to the locker room. Some other player does the same thing and nobody even notices he's gone or mentions it, and you don't even know what happened.
Exactly. Yeah. This dude he would have played 70 plus games last year if he was trying to maintain his house in New Orleans, but he didn't give a shit. Yeah.
And also, and normally I would say this is a joke, but there were actually at least one, I think multiple times last year, where Davis maybe wasn't going to come back into a game and DeMarcus Cousins called him out and he came back in.
Yeah.
He has that same kind of, well, he still has Cousins too, but he also has LeBron.
Yeah. So there will never be a situation where I'm I don't know if I could play Anthony Davis here. He's injury prone, because that's just not a true statement.
Yeah, even if it was, imagine being this guy projects really well for me, but I think he might get hurt today, so I'm not going to play him.
Also a very good point. We need to talk about the backcourt here for the Lakers. Do you think we see Rondo today?
Do I think we see him? He's questionable, right?
Correct.
Yeah. I don't know.
But I'm asking that question poorly. So let's put it this way. Let's say Rondo is not questionable and he's playing. What are you projecting him for, minutes-wise? I assume you have him in right now like I do.
Yeah, I do. Somewhere around 20-ish.
Okay. I have him in for 24. He's still useless to me. Is there anybody else from the Lakers that you are interested in? The only guy getting ownership, Danny Green at 26% on FanDuel. This is a roster construction ownership number.
Yeah, I think that the wings in general, I think that the way I put it on the podcast with EMAC last night was, if you're playing 150 lineups, the Lakers become really useful just because you can kind of rotate through KCP, Bradley, Danny Green. Chances are one of those guys at that salary has a productive enough game that it helps you out.
Yeah.
Danny Green's actually kind of expensive on DraftKings, but
Bradley's
only 4,100. But the problem is in your 3 max lineups, or if you're someone that just builds a handful of lineups in larger field tournaments, it's really, really difficult to pinpoint ahead of time which of these guys is going to have the best game, obviously, because there's no real way of knowing. So I think that I'm interested in them from like an MME standpoint because they offer value and they have a reasonably wide range of outcomes. But as far as favorite plays on the slate, they're pretty far down the list.
Okay. Let's say that Rondo is not playing today. Who do you feel is the biggest benefactor to that information?
I don't think it matters a whole lot because I think you just get more minutes for like Quinn Cook and Alex Caruso.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. I think Quinn Cook just gets any minute that Rondo is going to play. Do you have Quinn Cook playing at all if Rondo's in?
Handful,
Okay.
I think. And that's just because, again, like I have no idea what the rotation is going to look like. And it doesn't matter. Like I'm not playing Quinn Cook no matter what.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I could take a couple of minutes off Cook and give 20, like you said, 24 to Rondo, or something like that. It doesn't really make a difference though.
Okay. GPP winner is going to have all the right LA Lakers players. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the GPP winner probably is going to have like all the right plays.
Yeah. That's
from the slate.
Yeah. Along with the other 6 people that are tied with him.
Yeah.
The 2-game slate. You don't get very far rostering 8 points from Landry Shamet. Probably not going to pick up the W there. Damn, Kerr says it's unlikely Clay will return this season. That should not be news.
God, Steph Curry's going to have such a ridiculous year.
I know. It's too bad that his backcourt partner is such garbage.
I had to think about who it was.
So I just had to get that in there. He's actually going to thrive this year. He's going to look really good from a DFS perspective.
I agree.
Yo,
I like Curry's going to be in my lineups like every single day, probably.
He's going to be James Harden every night. Like,
how long is it going to take his price to actually get to that level?
A while.
Yeah.
I mean, like 2-3 weeks, but it's going to be slow-ish.
Yeah, I mean, because the baseline for him is just going to be so low because of playing his whole career with stars.
Yeah. I mean, he averages like 40-something a game per 36 minutes when those guys are off the floor. It's going to be craziness. All right, we got one either or here. LeBron Van Vliet or Holiday Siakam, FanDuel cash. We're not going to answer all of these, but it just popped up and we're at the end of this.
All right, LeBron Van Vliet or
Holiday Siakam.
I think it's LeBron Van Vliet, especially in cash. LeBron gives you the higher floor because he's LeBron. Van Vliet is a really strong value. Like you're basically, God, this is another just awful position. Your options at point guard are basically like for cash. I think Van Vliet, Ball, and Lowry. So,
dude, Lonzo Ball 7% owned on FanDuel. So
that's absurd. But yeah, I think that it's Van Vliet, LeBron.
Okay. If ownership held right now, it's probably Holiday Siakam for me, but
ownership.
Yeah. Like, I think that I would rather be playing Siakam in cash than LeBron, just given the way that they're set up right now. I don't have them all that different from like a point per dollar perspective.
I mean,
one of them 68% owned, the other is 18% owned.
Yeah, but the thing is, with answering questions like this, we have no idea. There's probably someone else in the lineup that we hate and we wouldn't play. But
yeah, sure.
If we assume that the rest of the lineup looks good, point per dollar doesn't matter. You're just trying to get the most points out of this group, and LeBron is 10 plus points higher than Siakam.
76-3 Drew. I have Drew and Siakam like 5 points higher as a combo.
Let me see. I hadn't actually looked, but I definitely think the floor on the LeBron side's higher. Like,
I agree with that.
Yeah. Let me see. Just talk for a second. I need to figure out.
Guys, perfect time since we are about to close this off. Hit the like button, please. That is very, very helpful to us. We'll be doing this every day. So if you could hit the thumbs up, that would be great. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell so you know when we go live. Coming up immediately after this at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, Laffy and Sal Vetri will be talking some NFL first look for this coming week. And then we're just going to not stop. PGA show at 2:30 with Ben and Tim. 4 o'clock, we'll get the NHL strategy show. Alex will be behind the paywall for 30 minutes for our premium subs at 4 p.m. Deeper dive at 6. Live before lock at 7. Live before lock PGA edition with Ben and Jason Roslin at 8. I'll be recording the early bird at 9 o'clock with Dan Strafford. Today just doesn't end, guys.
So 2 things. For me on FanDuel, the LeBron side is like projected 2 points higher, and I think it has the higher floor.
Okay.
The other thing is that's not a possible 2v2 because Drew and Van Vliet play different positions. So there's definitely a third guy that's different.
Sure. Agreed. Awesemo is now DFS ESPN. I mean, it kind of is. We're getting there.
Yeah.
the next, all of October, November, December, and part of January is just going to be pretty jam-packed full of content. So, Adam, what do you have coming up today? Deeper dive, right?
Yep, deeper dive with Lafayette at 6.
Alrighty. I think that's basically it. We're gonna have some articles and stuff coming up shortly. I'm gonna get cheat sheets out in the near future. They will normally be out before this show started, but we had to create a lot of YouTube events from scratch today. So normally I can copy and paste those things. They didn't exist. Please drop any comments or things that you'd like to see in the comment section after this video is over. Subscribe to our podcast feed, iTunes, SoundCloud, wherever you get your podcast, you can subscribe. Just search for Awesemo. You will find us. All of our shows that have any sort of shelf life end up there. All of our NFL strategy shows, the NBA strategy show, PGA strategy shows, our betting show, they all end up on the feed. A couple pods from Jason Roslin go directly there as well. Here we go. You just playing DK? You playing anywhere else tonight?
Probably just DK.
Okay. There we go.
Maybe FanDuel. Maybe Yahoo. Kind of depends on how long it takes me to get how many errors I have in my NBA stuff from last year that I haven't fixed yet.
Well, there you go. Sounds good. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. We are back tomorrow morning. It'll be myself and Sal Vetri. Adam will be joining me again on Thursday, but get used to my face every morning. 9:30 a.m. Eastern time. We will be here. Adam, anything else?
Nope.
We're out of here, everybody. Best of luck. Stay tuned to our YouTube channel and to our @Awesemo_com Twitter account to know when everything is happening. Best of luck. We're out of here.